as I was saying, I now just have to put the hand crank on. And I showed you the bolt that is just like the motor mounting bolt. And you will also notice the arm of the hand crank, and this seems to need another gasket. See, this was on another machine. So these are things that you need to check every once in a while. The arm and the gasket right now is considered in a position to be engaged. And you want to make sure that it's, no, I'm sorry, when it's pointing up, it would be not engaged. When it's pointing down, it would be engaged. But for now, what I have to do is simply mount it on the machine. And you just have to hold the hand crank straight and lined up with the mounting area. Make sure the bolt is going to go in straight, and just tighten it up. So now the hand crank is on there. And as you can see, that little arm and the gasket are pointing toward me, toward the camera, up, and it is not engaged. And to engage it, you just move it in between two spokes of the hand wheel and push it down like that. So now, other than the bobbin winder, my grandmother's machine is a hand crank. The two things I have to research, I still have to work on the tension a little bit, but the two things I have to research are how do I fix the bobbin winder issue, and how do I get a new rubber gasket for the hand crank. But there it is, and I can use it as a hand crank on the table the way it is until I make a final decision. I have asked on the Treadle-On list what the official fix is for the bobbin winder. I know there are people who do this more or less for a living, where they convert machines and then sell them, so they've come up with a way to have the bobbin winder work correctly. And in the meantime, I've done two things. This adjustment right here, this moves back and forth when you loosen that screw. And before I just adjusted it, the bracket was all the way toward the back. I now have the bracket all the way toward the front, which is as low as I can get the bobbin winder to sit. That's the bobbin winder not engaged, and at the lowest point I can get it. The other thing I've done is I've put 3 elastic bands, and you can see this beige stripe right here. There are 3 wide, thick elastic bands on there, similar to what comes from the produce department at a grocery store, which would be maybe wrapped around a head of broccoli or something. They're rubber bands like that, and I have 3 of them piled on top of each other. And as a temporary fix, so there's the bobbin winder engaged, and I'm going to hold the camera and hand crank, and you can see it just doesn't quite make it, but it does. And I think I have more of an adjustment on the bobbin winder. If you hold the bobbin winder down, it works fine. So as far as being portable, I'm sure if I put a 4th elastic band on there, I wouldn't even have to hold the bobbin winder down like that. But when I do hold it down, it engages with those rubber bands and winds fine. Let me reposition the camera and I'll show you a little better. Now, as I said, this is kind of a quick fix type thing, but there I'm holding the bobbin winder down a bit. So I can easily do that at any time that I need to wind a bobbin. And either by finding out what the quote-unquote professional fix is, making another adjustment, or simply adding another elastic band, that should be fine. And I think the reason they came up with an official fix was because if I were going to now sell this machine as a hand crank, I really don't want to tell people that, gee, you'll have to keep an elastic band on there all the time. But for my own use, this will work fine. So the only other thing I have to do is figure out a rubber gasket for the arm of the hand crank, and I'm sure if I put a couple of rubber bands on there, I'll be all set. I want to add a note here. I'm still deciding whether or not to convert my grandmother's machine, but this is my 1588 from 1937, almost around the same year that it was made. And one note, obviously I've put a hand crank on this, and I've taken it out of my treadle, and I've got a hand crank on it. But one reason this is not the same as the 99 is that it is a great deal heavier. Just picking the machine up by itself is heavier than picking up the 99 in a base. So when and if you are thinking about converting machines to hand cranks, if picking it up and carrying it around or moving it often is an issue, then a full-size machine like this 1588 might be heavier than you would wish. I wanted to show you, these are the rubber bands that I had on the hand wheel, and I say had because I used the machine as a hand crank for about 2 hours, sewing different things, and then had a panic attack and put the machine back original in its case because I'm not sure whether or not I want to change it permanently. And it's running the way it was before with the motor, and everything is fine, and I'm still considering making it a hand crank, but I have the luxury of doing this temporarily before I make any kind of a final decision. And I could just solve my own problem by getting a reproduction base and use it as a hand crank for as long as I want, and then put it back in the original case. But I wanted to show you, these are the elastics I had on the hand wheel so that the bobbin winder lined up much better. I used 3 of the wider ones, and I had to kind of improvise with a skinny one. But they are 3.5 inches long if you measure them flat, and they are 1/4 inch wide this way. I don't know how thick they are, maybe 1/16 of an inch. And here's another idea, that when I do that again, set it up as a hand crank again, this is an old treadle belt that came off of one of my treadles. And I'm thinking, I think I measured it's about 9.5 inches around the hand wheel where the bobbin tire needs to hit. And by cutting this to 9.5 inches, punching a hole in it carefully with a nail, and punching a hole in the other end with a nail if there isn't one there already, and then using dental floss, dental tape. It's dental floss, but it's tape, and a tapestry needle. I can sew the 2 ends together just like I would a treadle belt and put that on the hand wheel. And as you can see, what that does is build the hand wheel up. These are the 3 original bands, and I needed 4, so I needed at least 1/4 of an inch, and the treadle belt is easily going to meet that. And I have lots of old treadle belts that aren't strong enough, or they're just too old to be used to power a machine, but if they're just sitting there as like an O-ring on a hand wheel, they should work fine. So I haven't left it as an electric permanently yet. I'm still trying different things.